It's recording.
Sweet. Alrighty. So I will be the group leader, discussion leader for the week. It's Ethan Dunbar. Um, okay, we'll just go ahead and get right into it. That's cool with you guys.
Hmm.
So part one, I think we're just kind of doing an overall background on sexual harassment. So the first question is, ask your team to help you understand some background on sexual harassment law before you start the case. Um, so let's do this. What is sexual harassment? What do you guys think? We'll just do an open question on that one. What is sexual harassment to you guys? Or I guess what do
I
you
could get this one. I was looking on the definition or the PDF, and it says unwelcome sexual or gender based between or that affect job conditions or creates a hostile work environment.
That's perfect. All right. Anybody else have anything different? I feel like we all kind of know what sexual harassment is. I feel like it's pretty standard, straight to the point. So it's saying, based on Martinez's story, does her situation constitute sexual harassment?
Is this is the one with the Rodriguez girl with her boss? Is that the one I'm thinking of?
Yeah, with
And
Frank, I think, Mr.
yeah,
Frank. Yeah,
Mr. Franks saying that, oh, you shouldn't tell anyone because no one will believe you.
Mr. Touchy.
yeah. No, I definitely think it constitutes a sexual harassment. Um, and then moving on, it says, is it quid pro quo, or a hostile work environment? Um, I could take this one. That's really fine. I don't think it's pro quo. It kind of says in the questionnaire that there's really not enough information. The definition on holy smokes, quid pro quo, in the sexual harassment document is basically like a threat. Um, I think the
Yeah,
definition it basically said is like, if you don't sleep with me, you're fired type of a deal. So I don't think it was necessarily quid pro quo, but I do feel like it definitely got to a hostile work environment to the point where, I mean, she was distraught and she felt like she couldn't talk or anything like that because she was worried about retaliation. What do you guys think?
I think good question. I think there was either like something because involved because she was fearing that she would lose her job, but he never said it. But he's like, you shouldn't tell anyone because no one believes you or whatever. But I don't think it was like a straight statement of like, oh, if you do this, you get fired type of thing.
Yeah, no, totally. Um, anybody else? Does anybody else have anything on that, or do you think everyone good? All right, cool. I'll
I
take that.
agree.
Yeah. Love it. All right. From reading the note on sexual harassment, do you think DeCoste got accurate advice when he called the council's office? In quotations, it says you might need to follow up by asking who the lawyer said he had to report.
Wasn't it the EEO office?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he called the lawyer for the company type of consult thing, and then he explained the situation without giving names out, and then she told him that he should report it, and then he gave she gave him a scenario of like, okay, so what happened if you don't report it and it keeps going on, and then she ends up suing the company for that purpose, and you come in with the whole issue of like, hey, did you see or did you hear anything? And then you have to tell the truth while you're being on judge, and then it will go back into circle again. And it's going to be look bad for you because you didn't report it back when it first started. So um, I just remember that part of the story of she telling him that yes, you should be reporting this situation to the company for so they can investigate it.
She also had quite a bit of fear. Like she was worried, um, from what you were saying, Kaziana. Like she was worried about being fired and about, I guess, the repercussions of it coming out that she has been sexually harassed. I think
Yeah.
that's a very real fear that a lot of people do have, and a lot of stuff does go unreported, at least in terms of sexual harassment, because people would rather keep their job and allow themselves to be hurt than just really kind of stand up for what should be happening. And as sad as that is, it is a reality.
Yeah, who knows? It kind of reminds me of like this kind of outside of the case, and just like the I forgot what concert it was, but when the husband took his coworker, and then
Um,
like it was
yeah.
like roast battle.
Oh, yeah.
It's Coldplay, yeah.
It was
Yeah.
Coldplay. That kind of reminds me. No, it
Um,
doesn't really remind me of the case, but it's just that it reminds me of that meme of just like Coldplay, spotlighting them in that at that concert with his coworker.
That was good. I'm glad you brought that up. That's actually really funny. Didn't think about that. Okay,
oh,
sweet, guys. Yeah, go for it. Sorry.
like, well, at that point, it wasn't sexual harassment because both of them was wanting it, but I'm like,
Yeah,
Good example.
mm,
that's right. Good stuff you read. That's great.
That could
Okay,
say.
so we've got a follow-up here. Why might a lawyer representing the company insist on i- instituting a formal investigatory process? I could take that one. You guys did great last time. Um, Kazian, I think you kind of touched on this a little bit actually. But you pulled in the example that the lady on the on the phone at the EEO office kind of gave where if things did get out and went to trial and stuff like that, it would look really bad on him as well as the company. But I think it's also important to remember that unfortunately, in this country, it's like you're innocent until proven guilty, and so you want to make sure that you have all the facts and all the sides and all the story and get a full idea of what's going on before moving forward and just making sure that you totally understand everything that's happening.
yes, and the lawyer's purpose is to protect the company. So they had to make sure you do the investigation and make sure there's no false claims because some people can do false claims too. But you gotta make sure if it's not just one person, if it's multiple people, then that explains his character a lot more. So it'd be kind of like it's important for that type of thing.
Totally. That was awesome. Thank you. Okay. So I think we're good on part one. So we're on to part two now. So we're on DaCosta's dilemma. Um, how would you evaluate Jack DeCosta's options at this point? What do you think he should do? What do you guys think? You might want to do a quick vote.
I
Um,
think it's like because Jack is very concerned. In the very beginning, he did not want to get involved at all because he's like, well, she didn't report it herself, so why should I report it? And then he went to talk to her about it, and the concern was about her retaliation and then her boyfriend finding out about it because he will like take things in his own hands. We don't know what that means, and that could be like a threat to the company. And so I think he should have just reported it in the beginning. I know you should talk about it with the coworker that you saw this incident, but I think you can say like anonymously that you have overheard this type of conversation and then report it, and then when if it gets more escalated, then you can like sit down and talk to the company as a whole instead of just like you and one-on-one type of thing. Putting yourself in that middle of the situation instead of allowing the investigation could happen, and then if they need your testimony at that time, then you could be involved at that time.
Yeah, I agree with Kijiana on this one, on reporting it. He should have reported it a while ago, but if he remains silent, it could like allow illegal behaviors to happen, especially being silent about it. That could backfire big, huge.
I also agree with both Ethan and Kaziana. I think documentation is the most important thing, and if you, as a um, in any position, whether you're a superior or whether you're low class, if you learn that something unsavory is happening in your company and don't report it, you become complicit in that action, whatever it might be, and that can have legal repercussions against you yourself for not being willing to even just write a report or something detailing what you heard.
Oh, that is perfect. I definitely agree with all you guys. I would say report it to both the EEO office and then some sort of HR team or something like that. I feel like if you can kind of keep it internal in the company, that can also kind of help with patching relationships and stuff like that as well. So that's great. Question two says, for students who say to report, oh, I guess here we go. Um, Hang on here. Let me read this. For students who say they don't report, ask what they will do to explain to Julia about their decision. Are they willing to get her fired? Okay, so basically what it's asking is now what's going to happen to Julia. Um, Julia's worried about getting fired. Does she have any proof of sexual harassment, anything like that? So the question is, does anything prevent her boss from firing her for some other reason? What do you guys think? And then kind of a
But
follow-up. Yeah.
he said that she's a pretty normal, really good rounded individual that does her job correctly. What if he was reading the, and so he was kind of put back about it because she was just someone who does her job well. And so I don't think it's like an issue with performance for her. So this shouldn't be a reason to fire her. If there's a reporting retaliation happens, then then that means something, not just HR, but the supervisor. That's something that they got to work out for. But I think it's hard to collect evidence, especially with sexual harassment, because it's just word of mouth. And unless you get like tangible evidence or like something in that certain situation, you have to just go by whoever hearsay or whatever.
I agree. And I
Yeah,
think especially, oh, sorry, Ethan, do you want to go?
no, I'm just agreeing. Just yeah.
Okay, sick. Um, I think too, especially when someone gets fired from a certain company or in an organization, there's a lot more that I feel like goes into it than just, hey, the boss just goes into oh, what's her name? Julia's office and says, you're fired, get out, right? There's a lot more on the back end and working with HR and other teams to making sure that they're doing it in the right ways. And so I think if it was something where Mr. Frank ever did end up trying to kind of pursue that, I think that that would be shut down relatively quickly, just because, like you said, Kaziana, she's had really good track records in the past. She has never been an employee that was either problematic, either with work ethic or relationships with employees or anything like that. Like she was an all-around good worker, and so I think. Regardless, even if he tried to retaliate, I think it would be pretty hard to do so. Kind of a follow-up there. Does filing a harassment claim prevent her from ever being fired? What do we think?
I think no. I mean, just because you fire a harassment claim, it doesn't grant you immunity for any thing else you might do. Otherwise, if that was all it took to prevent yourself from getting fired, a lot of people would uh, still be in their jobs that they shouldn't be in now. It's like a get out of jail free card. Always have a jail for life card, and I'm sure a lot of people would love that.
Like, yeah, I agree. Like, if she put in that report and then her performance goes bad, and it's like, oh, I won't get fired because I did this. So it doesn't really like work that way for certain things. But if she's doing her job well and only thing that she's done was this and then she gets fired, then that's like questionable from there. But I think I agree with Ethan on the fact, oh, I mean, sorry, Jared, on the fact of it wouldn't just prevent her from getting fired.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's good. Yeah, I do like see Julia's side of just like just that fear of her like preventing to speak out. But definitely, if she speaks out, it doesn't have the job on the line, just because it's bigger than the job for her to keep uh, for her to stay in the job. It's just a bigger act than the company. It's on the person, the manager, or what's Frank's position? I didn't really.
As no, he was something dealing with data. I think.
Yeah, yeah. You're not talking about Frank, like the headmaster, the brains of it all. So I feel like it's just bigger on the Frank side than the company side, and it will help other employees further than what Frank could do. If this does not roll out as it should, if it doesn't go to the court, then it could happen to others as well.
That's perfect. Sweet guys. All right. None of us ever said that we would do any that DeCoste would do anything, so we can kind of skip that section. But the next one is kind of role playing if DeCoste was going to report the incident to the EEO office. What do we think that he would report? How would that go? Just because he hasn't really seen anything, hasn't named the alleged harasser, like really doesn't have any proof. He's just kind of going off of word of mouth, overhearing someone else's conversation.
He could just
So what do
say
you?
I think he could just call them and say, "Hey, this was a situation that I overheard of one of my coworkers in distress, and she was crying and bawling her eyes out and talking over the phone." And then you just go in detail of what he heard in that conversation. And he said, I just wanted to report this. I have not personally seen it myself, but based on what she said that it only happens when they're alone or something like that. And so not it's not shown with other people type of thing. So I just wanted to report it to you guys to see if this can be looked into. And I think it's just as simple as that.
Yeah, that's perfect. I mean, I agree completely. I think after something like that happens, I think really that's when I mean the lady on the phone when she said that, I think that's when the investigation occurs. Just because like we said when he was calling, he hasn't seen anything, hasn't heard anything, witnessed anything. It's kind of word of mouth, and so it's still kind of not that it's not believable, but it's also hard when it's like almost a telephone game in that sense. And so I think that's where the investigation would really come into play and make sure that all sides get a fair opportunity to share.
This is where they can go set up a sting operation, have her
Mm-hmm.
go meet her boss when he's alone and see, just have a little recording device on there.
Or put like a camera in the room, like a tiny one.
Yeah. Well, bam, sack him right there. Boom.
Bam,
Wow.
sack right there.
But that's only if, but she doesn't have to know, like, because she's obviously don't want to be involved in everything. So what they can do is they can just put a camera in a room that no one knows about, and like she doesn't even know about it either, and then just investigate that way too. So
That'd be a good setup.
yeah,
This just reminds me of like my Instagram reels. I don't know if you follow these guys, but they do like catching predators and they like do like crazy stuff to the predators. It's just like the funniest thing. I
yes,
had so much joy. I would love to be on that half of just like putting the mic or like figuring out a solution on how to catch Frank.
yes, how to catch.
That's perfect. All right. Sweet guys. Okay. So we are on to part three. So sexual harassment policies and procedures. Um, so what we're going to do is we're going to consider what to include in a company's sexual harassment policy. So we each get a role. And let's see, we get 5 to 10 minutes to do the following. Given your assigned role, identify the most important things you want to see in the new policy and procedures that your organization is formulating to govern sexual harassment issues. Okay, so we're basically going to identify the most important things in our policies. So the policies are potential victim of harassment, sexual accused harasser, a bystander, and legal counsel. So I think we just each pick one. We go on mute for 5 to 10 minutes, kind of game plan and map it out, and then we'll come back, rejoin, and then kind of identify the most important things that we'll want to see in the new policy in the role of who we are. So,
I can take potential victim of harassment.
okay, nice. Nice, I like it.
Uh,
Okay,
what was
who
the
wants?
other options again?
So we have left accused harasser, the bystander, and the legal counsel.
I think I can do the bystander.
Bystander, all right. Ethan, do you want to harass him or do you want to be the legal?
I'll be the accused harasser.
All right. So I'll be legal. Okay. So what we can do, and you guys, do you guys have it pulled up or?
I do have mine pulled up.
Okay, cool. If not, I was gonna say I can read it one more time, just so that we're all there. So it says, given your assigned role, so the assigned roles that we got, identify the most important things you want to see in the new policy and procedures that your organization is formulating to govern sexual harassment issues. Be prepared to defend your choices as other people may not agree with them.
Okay, so
Okay.
are we just looking up a policy?
I think what we're doing is, so our assigned roles, we're identifying the most important things that you want to see in the new policy.
Oh, so we're
Um,
just thinking if I was a
or
bystander, this is what I would like to implement.
Yeah, like if you, yeah, you're thinking in the eyes of like your role,
Oh, okay.
right? And then what sexual harassment policies to kind of help out with that to navigate an issue if there was one.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we all just go on mute and then we just kind of game plan and then let's see, it's 9:28 or 9:29, 9:30 basically. We'll come back at 9:40. We'll give each other 10 minutes, kind of run the clock a little bit, we'll figure it out. All right, are we about ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sweet. Who wants to go first and kind of share um, what new important things you'd want in your policy to kind of help you um, in your role in like a sexual harassment issue or claim? So,
I can go since I
okay,
picked mine
sick.
first.
Sweet, let's do it.
I'm the victim here. So everything I have is victim orientated.
I like
Um,
it. Okay.
yeah, maybe I'll go a little bit to the extreme just to make it more fun. Step
Okay.
number one, I want the accused fired. Cut him out. He's gone. She's gone. Everyone's gone. I want serious consequences. I want them to happen immediately. Other things, um, I want support from human resources. I want to be a part of whatever process is involved. I want there to be I want to have some sort of say. I don't just want to be on the sidelines waiting for something to happen because I don't feel like that would inspire a little bit of fear in me. Like, what's going on? What are they doing? Did they take me seriously? Did they not? Um, I want there to be sexual harassment training for people, like support from other staff members. Uh, and I think if a company doesn't have that, like for the example, the Lone Star example with Miss Martinez, um, there had to have been another coworker who had noticed something. Any support from anyone would have been awesome. I want an investigation process. I want confidentiality when reporting. I want there to be multiple ways to report and make it anonymous in some way, or at least where I can report without having having fear that other people will hear about it. And I want protection from retaliation or any sort of backlash. That's another thing. Like if things don't go my way, I don't want my boss all of a sudden to fire me because I reported. There's my list.
That was
You
a
got quite
beautiful
a
list.
few. You kind of went into the one I was thinking of for a bystander. Okay, for me, I guess I can go next. The bystander one, I think we should have like a policy that teaches, because bystander can be like a fellow employee or a person in the street, but especially for the one for the employee to um to be able to have classes to recognize or training to recognize like sexual harassment amongst the peers of, because I agree with Jaren about there was probably someone else that probably recognized something but didn't say anything. But to understand that it's encouraged to recognize and interpret responsibilities intervening for like in situation. Like for example, if something happens, like address it. You know, some people don't like addressing these type of things, but you'd be like, oh, that was not appropriate comment or things like that. Or they know to distract the person, delegate it to the HR, and then document, make sure that we know what to look out for and what to document, like what happened, what time, what we can do to properly document everything for that person. And then no retaliation from, because if I'm an employee and then I tell this to HR or I say something, I don't want any retaliation from that person saying, oh, why are you in my business? Type of thing. And then the third one is multiple ways to report. Sometimes I like to just be anonymous that say, hey, I noticed this, but I don't want to get like involved. Or um, have someone like in HR that's particularly or main person that we can report to personally, or we could talk to security if you feel that it can escalate or things like that. So I think mine is just no retaliation, training on what to look out for, training that it's okay and it encouraged to report these things, and different ways to report it.
I'll go third. Mine's accused harasser. I'm actually the opposite of Jared. I'm gonna take
Yo,
they gotta
quit
take a lot on
harassing
me.
me.
They gotta take a lot on me. I feel like there should not be no action automatically on who accuses who. I feel like the managers or the supervisor, whoever's the headmaster, needs to hear both sides of the person, of the accuser and the victim, and really get the evidence. And if there's evidence there, then there should be legal actions taken. But I feel like if the accused harasser should not be getting their job taken away the first day or after an allegation happens. I feel like there should be a good 2 week process.
So
That's great. All right.
okay.
I will go last. So for legal counsel, something I came up with is multiple reporting channels.
Mhm.
Reason for this is a lot of the times in like these sexual harassment claims, you never want it to be like, oh, it's hard to report that I got sexually harassed or anything like that. And so you can report it to HR, you can report it to a manager, or I want to create something where it's like a confidential hotline or an online portal or a Google form or something that you submit in like, hey, this incident happened, and some different required fields to kind of get some more information there. So then HR and the required people can kind of reach out. Something else for legal counsel is documentation. I think this helps quite a bit with kind of referencing back and making sure that you kind of build up your case and stuff like that in that sense, where you're able to create some sort of an evidence log and make sure that you're um, able to, if the accused harasser actually ends up being guilty, that you're able to kind of make a point and make sure that you're showing that he was in fact guilty. And then if something does get really, really bad, and it's a very, very serious sexual case, sexual harassment case, I'm sorry, um, termination, and discipline, and then no retaliation because they fired the John. So those are my fun list. Okay, so now that we've said all that, those were all great. Um, what is an actual policy that we would want to use to kind of respect sexual harassment policies and procedures? What's a policy that we listed that we'd actually want to put into action?
Multiple ways to report. I feel all of us are saying that multiple ways. And then another one's investigation. Just don't fire everyone just because then there are cases where people just because they hate the person, we report them like, hey, this person did this to me. So I think it's the investigation to make sure um everything. And then I think the third one is to teach everyone what to look out for. Like I'm in healthcare and they teach us for not just sexual harassment, but like looking for like child abduction, type of thing, what to look out for, like child abuse and stuff like that. We get a lot of training in that. So I think there should be training on what to look out for, body language, or like, I don't know, different things, what you could do to document and what you can notice, and then not be afraid to speak up. There should be, you should work in a company that rewards speaking up than retaliating because you spoke up about something.
I agree.
That's great. I loved that. That was awesome.
So I really like what Ethan had to say about the being accused. It would suck if you were accused of sexual harassment without doing anything.
Mhm.
That would be brutal. And for you to have to go through an investigation and have your reputation tarnished because you went through this investigation, all this stuff. That'd be brutal, especially if you hadn't done what you were accused of. And so I like what he had to say about a little bit of protection for the accused as well. I think that's important, both for the accused and the potential victim, in terms of confidentiality and in the investigation process, making sure that it's not wide out in the open. Everyone in the company is hearing about this. Let's keep our gossip to ourselves.
That's great. Awesome, guys. Okay, so we'll just wrap up here. Let's see. Okay, so it looks like I've got a little story. So I guess I just tell you guys about the Lone Star, the end of the Lone Star case. So I'll tell that and then we can do our final wrap up. So it says, when Jack called corporate counsel, he forgot about the caller ID. The lawyer used the information he gave to figure out the people he was talking about. She contacted the Lone Star EEO, which launched a formal investigation. The EEO tried hard to get Martinez to cooperate. French denied all charges, claiming that Martinez had made up her story to protect herself from pending layoffs. DeCoste was asked for evidence, but he didn't have any. Julia Martinez's husband found out what was going on, beat up Julia, and forced her to quit. French survived the investigation with only a bruised reputation. He blamed everything on DeCoste for calling corporate counsel. There was so much animosity between DeCoste and French that DeCoste left the company after 3 months. Ash Group, what was Lone Star's sexual harassment policy? Do we think they had one? If they did Jack know anything about it? What policies, procedures, or training might have improved the situation Jack found himself in?
I don't think there was a policy because a lot of companies that they do have a policy. Like the company I work for, the very first time you get hired, they kind of like throw it down your throat type of thing. Like they have multiple videos, multiple shows of examples of what sexual harassment looks like, what to do in situations like that. And due to him not knowing what he should have done in that moment, I think the company didn't have a standard teaching or a policy for sexual harassment and what to do, especially since there was a retaliation or like animosity afterwards, of like there wasn't much confidentiality because everyone found out that he was the one that reported it. So it wasn't like a good bystander type of situation for it. So I just think there wasn't properly, there probably was, but it wasn't like teach properly with for everyone.
No, that's great. I think what kind of ended up screwing him over just a little bit. And not that you should ever not jump the gun, but I feel like maybe in this case he did a little bit. I feel like there wasn't a whole lot of evidence that he had, and so it made other people kind of a little weary, which then they went out to try to um, like figure out the people he was talking about, and like, huh, that's weird. Like, why wouldn't he give the name? And then everything kind of blew up, and so I think understanding that sometimes a lot of these cases and issues are like super um, what's the word? Tender, but not, what am I trying to say? They're super delicate. Like it's a very delicate situation. So a lot of the times you really have to approach it in like a not a roundabout way, but you just have to be careful about how you do it so that something like this doesn't happen because then everything just blew up. No one really got their way, right? Like everyone, Julie got beat up, the other guy quit. French ended up winning out of all the three, which was super unfortunate. And so I think that's something that I kind of took away from it is just realizing it's a delicate situation. So tread lightly.
Does this mean we can all commit from now on? If we overhear something, step number one is set up a sting for whatever the accused is. Then we
No,
take
All
a
Jared, I
right.
day
think that's
try.
right. I think that's what we'll
Yeah,
do.
I'm already on a case.
nice.
I probably would have been like, hey, when I started hearing that conversation, I'd be like, sorry to deal with your privacy. I start recording. This is what she said. He said, "Oh, let me just record this conversation. It seems like a serious conversation." And then you have evidence that she said it or whatever. Mm.
Okay.
But
Sick, guys. Well, I think we did it all. And according to my timer, it looks like we have 8 minutes left. So I think we're pretty much there.
I hope I know. Oh my gosh. But that was crazy of how it ended up like that.
I want to know what happened. Did her husband go to jail for like domestic violence or anything?
It doesn't
That was
say
some
anything.
The
Or
case studies
like,
are so frustrating because they cut off. Like they
Yeah.
don't ever give you like an ending to the story. They're just like they cut off, and then it's like after the fact you found out that Julie's husband beat her up, and you're like, well, that would have been interesting to know. It's like I don't know. I think last week's case too is kind of no, it's the Doohickeys case. It's the Doohickeys case. It just like cuts
Oh
off.
yeah.
Like you got to be kidding me. I
yeah.
don't know. Some of these Harvard case studies, I'm like,
But like
this
the
is
doohickey is still having continued with what's going on with that after that whole like, oh yeah, there's no policy for HR. Okay, then create policies now. I'd say, oh, okay. I was very invested in that in the article of the Landcoff, whatever we was reading. I was like really invested because oh, I'm like, well, I want to know what happened next type of thing. So it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I
They,
actually have a question about sexual harassment policies. What
yeah.
happens or what do you do when you like instead of in a products-based business or a service-based business, what happens when you're in a people-based business like social work, mental health, or prisons, or like nonprofits that work with specific people? What do you what kind of policy would you have for when the people you work with who aren't a part of the company sexually harass you?
Like a patient.
oh,
I only ask because I've actually experienced that where I used to work in a youth prison, and I've never been more sexually harassed in my life by these 18-year-old
Crazy.
boys.
That could happen.
It happens, I feel like in healthcare, it happens all the time. And there's
Yeah,
actually
all the
a
time.
huge issue and it can be reported, but depending on the workplace, it's never resolved. So like someone I have been in workplaces where they talk to the like my I work for like a company called Davita and there was this patient who sits there for 3 hours a day and he was doing things he shouldn't have because most of us just girls in the Vita clinic and we reported him what he was doing something inappropriately while we was helping him out and stuff. And then all they did, they didn't release him as a patient, they just gave him a warning and not to. But he kept doing it, but they still kept him there. So it depends on which company you work for and what they do. And even though they give a warning, but they didn't give like if you do this or retaliation of that patient. So
Do they move the patient to a new care provider?
no, because we
Really?
we are called technicians, right?
There
And
wasn't any sort of transfer or anything.
no, there was no transfer. They just talked to him and told him not to continue what he was doing. So they
Little
just
slap. Yes.
yeah. So we got to the point of where we said, no, uh, I don't know what happened now because I left the company, but situations like that can cause someone to decide to go and report it, and it can be a huge legal case because nothing was happened at that time. So that's just an example, a real life example I had at a company before. But there's another company, like I have a provider. If I report to them that a patient did this, they will fire the patient, meaning they will say, hey, that is not appropriate. And I don't think it's safe enough for you to continue as a patient at this office. And then they will tell him he should go elsewhere. So I have providers that did that too. So it all depends on who you work for.
Hmm.
You know that would fire your patient instead of fire employees, you know? Because
Yeah,
doctors
right,
are able to do that. Doctors say, "Hey, I fire you as a patient."
right. We
So
just like I can think of so many examples off the top of my head where like it sucked being in the prison. I felt so bad for the women that worked there because these boys were drawing porn of them every day, every other day, whenever they were there. And they weren't like transferring units is so hard.
it is.
And it didn't matter if they transferred units because they just go to another unit where they did the exact same thing.
And there was no like HR or any.
Well, the problem is that they're working with these aren't like kids who smoked weed and went to
This
prison. These are
hardcore
kids who
stuff.
like murdered other people,
Yeah.
who raped
uh,
people, who like these are the worst people, worst kids you can think of.
And that it's
And
you
so
say that like that is probably what you say is company hazards depending on what you work in. So I don't know.
they did pay well, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
it
So
compensates you for all the trauma they put you through.
other trauma.
Holy smokes.
That's crazy.
But you can't control, especially in those type of environments when they are just there. You can't move them to a different place because they're just going to be doing the same thing. So I think those will be difficult and hard. But I feel like on the certain things that we can control, we can try our best to do something about it, what we can do.
We did have the power to write up it's called a PREA, stands for Prison Rape Elimination Act. It's where
Hmm.
you basically charge them with sexual harassment. It was brutal if they got one because it meant that uh, they were barred from seeing family and they had charges added to their case file.
Hmm.
Wow.
But sometimes that just wasn't enough. They were like, I'm okay with sticking around here for another 5 years.
That's wild.
You're like, okay.
Okay, then.
Keep doing what
There's
you're
no.
doing then.
Yeah. Wild.
And did I stop the, I think we're
No,
good.
I think
I'm
I
gonna,
think we're still recording.